Hi, everybody. It's January 20th, 2026. Um, some of the things that we come across criticisms in our lives, we come across judgment in our life. And many times when this is enacted, they use dirt to bloom the truth. And by that I mean they tell you something or remind you of something that you may have done or may have committed in the past, and it happens to be true. And I call it truth blooming in the dirt because the dirt is your negative deeds or your bad deeds in the past, and the truth is that you may have actually committed that. But the thing to come to terms with that, the way to come to terms with that is to realize that self forgiveness is not egotistical. Self forgiveness is not overlooking things that you need to repair um, in order to better yourself or to be a better person to the people in your lives. Self forgiveness is a tool that is that makes you highly efficient. You know, you could admit your faults and keep on going at a steady pace, and you keep on correcting your faults that you have committed in the past, and keep on going forward at a steady and kind of a workhorse kind of way. So, what the object of people trying to bloom truth in your dirt is trying to slow you down, or it may be because of jealousy. Maybe they didn't want to do anything necessarily to you. Maybe they were just jealous and they made an offhand comment trying to make you feel like how they feel. And it's more nuanced than that. Some people criticize you and try to derail you just because they feel that that's normal. Like the situation, they may be so dim spirited that it seems like the situation that they're in literally calls for them to put seeds of doubt into you because they feel like that's what their position is in this moment of interaction. And some people actually think that way. Some people think that because something is normal that they have to do it, and they forget that in this world what is normal is could be horrid sometimes. What is normal could be malicious in this world, and they may claim to follow God, but they truly follow the ways of this world because they don't want to be the odd um, finger sticking out. So this gets me to thinking about uh, spiritual junk and how it evolves. So like a piece of spiritual junk could be uh, this flaw that you have that you haven't gotten over for years. You necessarily may not have been working on it, or you may not necessarily have noticed it to be a great problem, but you know that it's there, or you see its effects in your life. And so this bad attribute or this flaw in your character may manifest in different ways. And many times, when left alone, your flaws or your weaknesses change. And what I found is that being a true follower of God is, and when you do everything that you can right, but you still can't correct some flaws, what happens is the beautiful thing about following God is some flaws actually turn out to train you or to tune you into being an even stronger person or even more capable person. What was once flawed is now a credit to you, is now a vital resource that you could um, retrieve inspiration from, that you could retrieve strength from, that you could give from. And so this happens when you follow God, and when you behave in a way that is outgoing rather than looking for incoming. I'm not saying that you shouldn't ever want to receive things, that you shouldn't want things, but when you follow God, the most important thing is what you give out, because what you give out creates your environment, creates your spiritual, mental environment. And so another spiritual junk that can be evolved is just when you start to see the world in a wider aperture, when you let more information come in, what happens is that some information may have been an asset at first, like because you learned something, you were able to execute and reap benefits from it. But sometimes when you get this packet of information, it could this spiritual junk, it could evolve into kind of a test, because some of the times what you learn helps you see behind the scenes. And many times when you see behind the scenes in this world, you see how ugly things can be. You can see how hateful things can be, how dark things can be. And so having this knowledge inside of you once helped you, but now it's kind of sapping your enjoyment of life. It's sapping your wonder of this world. And just like how it evolved into the beneficial information evolved or started as being good for you, it has evolved to being kind of a drag. But many times, if you let it evolve a third step, you could kind of reconciliate the information, the behind the scenes information, and the benefits that you got at first, and then you become more grounded, you become more realistic while having faith. Because you could see, because you thought that this thing or information that you had, you thought maybe it was kind of a mirror to the world and of yourself. But now that you have both sides of the story, you could kind of enter into your life in a new portal as being more truthful, as being more realistic, as being both spiritually attuned and also having a foot in the real world. And so once you step on both sides of the divide, you make better decisions, and you get to bring your own influence into the situation in order to turn it more towards God. And so the next spiritual junk that evolves is basically, I guess, grievances against the elderly or the elders of your life, not necessarily elderly, but the elders of your life. Grievances, that you can consider that junk, obviously, just by deducing how it happens and how it manifests in your life. But grief against your elders, the most beautiful thing happens when you start to get older is that you see yourself in your elders and you understand them, you become closer to them. And even if they have gone out of your life because they have stepped onto the next plane, the loneliness doesn't cover, the longing that you have for them doesn't cover up the admiration you have for how great they were in the life stage that you are at now. You realize that maybe they seemed crazy in the past, but now you can kind of see yourself acting like that, and you understand why they seem so lame, why they seem so stupid, why they seem so pig-headed, because they have dealt with a life for many, many years beyond what point you started with them in your life, and they evolved and they adapted to life the best they could. And the best blessing is to realize how they held you up in order for you to get into that point of life where you're older and more wise and you have your own habits, and you realize that the spiritual junk of the misunderstanding that you have for your elders is now a beautiful thing, because you realize how beautiful life is to be able to be in their position and still have what you have. So I hope this helps. Thanks.